feel it when I go outside. There's an air condition in here, so
Yeah,
I'm not really
yeah,
feeling
it's
it.
nice.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. So let me just do the recording. Recording. Yes. Do you want to do the opening remarks for the second segment for us, please, bro?
yeah. Welcome to the second segment of the Football
There's an
Referee,
air
this week's
condition in here, so
podcast about the
I'm
all
not really
things
feeling
football.
it. Oh yeah. Oh,
I'm
okay.
Trevor Gear, and he calls me bruv.
Sorry about that. And I'm making hiccups because welcome to the second segment of the football referee. We do apologize for our live viewers with the feedback on the equipment. Right, it's been sorted now. Okay, so there's this one, bro. Nottingham Forest owner sues Crystal Palace
Yeah,
over controversial pistol banner. It says Evangelos Marianakis has filed a defamation claim against Crystal Palace at the High Court over a banner displayed by Palace fans. The banner depicted Marianakis pointing a gun at Morgan Gibbs White and included accusations involving blackmail, match fixing, drug trafficking, and corruption claims. On corruption claims, Marianakis is denied. What is that about? Do you have any idea of that?
well, yeah. I was at that match where the what we call the HF, they're called the Homestale Fanatics, Homestale Stand, and they're a bunch of a very loyal bunch of Palace supporters. I mean, and you get some of them. Some of them are called ultras in other clubs if they have them, and also in Europe they tend to have these. In our club, they tend to dress in black t-shirts and trousers, and they don't really display the team's colours, which I've never quite understood. But no, they are generally a force for good. They at Wembley they made some incredible banners to hold up for the television cameras. And as I say, there's a lot of I mean, at Palace are well known for the good crowd atmosphere. And
Hmm.
then there is. I mean, the ground is now being redeveloped. I'm glad to say at last, but the actual atmosphere of this older ground that we have is quite electric because it contains all the acoustics necessary to amplify the sounds of the players. And I hope none of that's lost when
Hmm.
this new stand, particularly, has been built. Um, so so yeah, there is that, and I remember seeing the ultras holding up this banner, whatever you will call it,
Hmm.
again, quite obviously depicting the forest owner. And I don't remember the details. You just said what some of them are, and I believe it's true to say that UEFA fined Crystal Palace for that holding that up because
Hmm.
you're not allowed obviously to bring the game into disrepute, to make inferences or statements, etc., etc. But we were fined for that. But now I guess the owner of Forest, who of course have now taken on our winning manager Oliver Glasner, so that's going to be quite interesting to see how that progresses. But he's decided to sue the club for defamation. It was, how can I say, it was a very personal banner depicting him in a certain way, which,
Hmm.
yeah, none of us would want to be depicted in a way that emphasized anything about us physically or whatever. But if there was a gun on it, I don't particularly remember that. But if,
Hmm.
however, that was meant as a joke, I imagine, yeah,
Hmm.
no one would want to be associated with that kind of thing. So it's going to be very interesting to
Hmm.
see whether this proceeds to court or whether Palace, you know, try to settle the matter out of court with some sort of charity payment. I don't know. I just know this was happening because, like you, I saw it the other day.
Hmm.
So it's going to be a bit interesting. It never really pays to to do that. It's one thing maybe to some fans boo. I mean, I don't think that's constructive in pretty much any circumstances.
Mm,
If you don't like someone or something they've done, the fact that Glasner left us and went to another Premier League team, which he seemed to imply he wouldn't do,
mm,
some people probably will boo him, some will cheer him because he achieved great things for us in that 2 year period.
mm,
But if you feel he's been disloyal, which, if I'm honest, I do, to Palace, then I think the best way is silence. Just don't get involved in anything, audible or stuff like that. So to put up a banner, I think is not the way forward. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, there's not good blood, shall we say, now between Palace and Forest. If you go
yeah.
back a year when we qualified from the FA Cup win to the Europa League, he then fought to get Forest, who had qualified for the Conference League, into
Mm,
the Europa League. I can't remember the whys and wherefores, but he did win that day. It took a lot of time by our owners trying to sort out, negotiate with UEFA, so on and so forth. And I still am
mm,
not really convinced they did the right thing by pushing us down into the Conference League. Um, so, of course, this year we're in the Europa League, having won the Conference League, and what are
mm,
Forest in European wise? Nothing. So it probably worked out at the end of the day in favour of Palace. But yeah, there's not good blood because of that. He was determined we were not going to keep our rightfully earned position in the Europa League. So that didn't help. And I guess it's true to say that Palace fans would not venture a high opinion of the Forest owner. But that
mm.
doesn't justify, in my opinion, putting up banners which effectively are unnecessary and frankly defamatory. It's much better to almost do it in if they want to sing a song, and they're very good at coming up with these songs, the Homesdale phonetics, as they're called,
Mm.
which the crowd often then learn and join in with, then do it that way, because I don't think you're going to get punished, dare I say, for a song unless it really is libelous or something like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's whatever the outcome of this, there's still going to be, I think, some bad blood because of
Mm.
last season and because of the fact that right belatedly Glasner decided he was going to go to another Premiership club rather than Milan, which I think is what he'd indicated he wanted.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he made the decision, except maybe £13 million a year might have swayed his decision on that one, over £1 million a month.
Mm.
So good luck to him. I mean, he did us a great time, and that won't be forgotten. Whatever else happens, he did
Yeah.
Palace good.
Yeah. I mean, I looked up that figure, 13 million pounds a year. And I think the only other person that is earning higher than that 13 million price bracket is Arteta on 15
Yeah,
million.
he's on
So
15.
is definitely up
Yeah.
there, top earners, top earning coaches or managers in the Premier League. Now, this one, UEFA is launching a new clear line system to make VAR more consistent and transparent. UEFA has created a clear line, a platform explaining when and how VAR officials should intervene. Based on years of experience and more than 100 video examples, the guide is designed not only for referees, but also for players, coaches, clubs, fans, and journalists, giving everyone a clear understanding of VAR decisions. I think it's come a little too late actually, because if it had come before the World Cup, but we're talking about UEFA, not FIFA. So, what do you make of this clear line? Welcoming?
This clear line. I mean, what does it refer to? Having um, a platform whereby they explain what they've done, why they've done it. I mean, that does sort of drip out every so often, doesn't it?
It
Howard
does, yeah.
Webb, the chief referee, will sometimes, he'll come online or in a TV studio and explain why a decision was made. When there's a real howler, he does
Mm,
tend to offer an apology for what it's worth. But I do think it needs clarifying. The World Cup was it really showed a difference between what we experience in this country with VAR and what was experienced throughout the World Cup. It seemed to have precious little intervention when you think about it. I couldn't understand why it didn't seem that every goal was checked, which I think they check every goal here. But
Mm,
I never heard the commentators saying, "Oh yeah, they're just doing a check. Yeah, it's fine," or "No, it's not fine." It was
mm,
as if the referee had the right. I don't know whether this was the case, but it was as if the referee had the right to decide if he wanted VAR to intervene about anything, maybe
mm,
with the exception of offsides, because they would automatically come in, I believe, on their semi-automatic offside decision stuff. But I really, you could say it's good. It's better in some
mm,
ways that throughout the matches there was, as I say, very little apparent intervention by VAR, particularly when there should have been. Um, where someone should have been. I mean, Messi should have been sent off. I don't know whether that decision was VAR'd at the time. He should have got a second yellow, but
mm,
didn't. And arguably, it was a red card on its own anyway. And we all felt, or the media felt, that this was not accidental. That a lot of Argentinian fouls just didn't get double checked. So
mm,
so that was not a good side of it. But equally, we didn't seem to get too many delays from 3 or 4 minute VAR interventions, which obviously is good. But for me, I would like it clarified, perhaps on this new system you talk about, are goals checked every time for VAR? If they
mm,
are, were they always checked every time in the World Cup? Because if not, that's a huge inconsistency, and I think
mm,
we need clarification on that. Does the
mm,
ref have the right to say, "Yeah, can you give me a decision on this, chaps, in the VAR guys up there"?
mm,
Or is it automatic that VAR will intervene of its own accord? So I
mm,
just think we need to know, because I don't think, although I wouldn't reverse it, I'd still stick with VAR because it
mm,
has made probably a load of correct decisions.
mm,
But, I mean, for example, this season, I imagine, as in the World Cup, they will look at corners to make sure it was or wasn't a corner. Now, that's a good thing, and that should be fairly quickly discernible.
mm,
But I think we need a lot of clarification. I just get if I were to summarize what I'm saying, I think our VAR guys, probably three, four, five of them, they're sometimes shown before the match, it needs to get a lot more succinct. It needs to be whipped up a bit more quickly. I know they've got to get the right decision, but
mm,
the end of the day, it can't take as long as it often does to decide if something's a foul or not. I mean, the biggest foul up, you could say, was when Egypt had that goal against Argentina disallowed for a piece of play about a minute beforehand. I mean, that would have
mm,
been probably the goal of the tournament, that goal. It would have made them, they were 2-0 up at that stage, but it was disallowed. And perhaps, as we say, there was other considerations to take that took place. But I don't believe VAR was visible there. Sometimes it should have been, as I've said. Sometimes people should have been booked or sent off, and it wasn't even seemingly used. Other
mm.
times it just didn't seem to be there. So yeah, we need a lot of clarification this year. Is there really a 5 second throw in rule? Because it seemed to me the refs waited till someone walked over, picked up the ball, and he walked back to the line, and he was like this. And then after a few seconds, the ref would go 1, 2. So 5 seconds really was probably 15 or 20 seconds. Now, either there's a rule on that or there isn't. So yeah, I think it ultimately is a benefit to the game, but I think it needs a lot of tidying up for us.
It does. It does. Yeah. There's a lot of inconsistencies, isn't it? Because you can take one decision, you can take five decisions and compare it against another five decisions, and there's inconsistency in these five decisions. You think, well, it's the same instances, but different results.
Mm.
Yeah, so I do quite agree with you. Now, this one is just for informational purposes only. Kylian Mbappe. La Liga 2026, 2025, 2026 top goal scorer. Champions League 2025, 2026, top goal scorer. And then in the World Cup, FIFA World Cup, top goal scorer. Are we all right? So we're looking at players like Lamine Yamal and Messi and Ronaldo. Are we ignoring the fact that this guy is
Mm.
actually possibly could be the next GOAT, as they say? What do you think?
Yeah, and he may well be the next Ballon d'Or man as well, mightn't he?
Mm, mm,
Because with
mm.
that achievement, that record of the last couple of years, culminating in the World Cup, most goals, best player, um, then yeah, he's got to be heading for the Ballon d'Or. When we talked in the past recent weeks about who do we think will win, we talked about maybe Harry Kane and Messi possibly and others, but he sort of has come forward as a late candidate, really, almost a shoe-in, I would have thought, for the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you never know. So Ballon d'Or, yeah. That's a very good point that you made. Now, commiseration to not commiseration, but condolences is in order for Lionel Messi. Lost his dad.
Yeah.
So we do send him our condolences, even though he wasn't a good sportsman in the last
No,
World
I
Cup.
mean, his father died. And apparently, when he was tearful after one of the games, he said that he had problems, and that was obviously what he was relating to. I think his dad had cancer, or he'd had an illness for quite a long time. And I guess Messi would have been aware he could die at any time. So at least you could say it was after the World Cup. It would have
Mm,
been very destructive for Messi
very,
had it have happened during the World Cup, as
very
it did
true.
actually, I believe, for Micah Richards, one of the BBC pundits, wasn't he? His father died during the World Cup, and he
All right.
soldiered on. All credit to him for that, but we send our condolences to him as well, of course.
Oh yeah. What in that the Manchester City player turned pundit? Was that him? Michael Richards?
Micah Richards, yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah.
think he used to play for Man City, didn't he?
He was one of their. I think he was their right back. Yes,
All
he
right. Yeah.
was. He was a
Yeah.
good footballer.
He is a good footballer. Well, condolences to Michael Richards as well. Thanks, Prof, for bringing that out. Now, this one is a bit, I don't know. Let's see how you see it anyway. So, Ferran Torres. He said, the last 5 minutes of my World Cup final were single-handedly focused on marking Messi. I knew that he only had to get the ball once. I could only accept that we had won the World Cup when the ref blew the final whistle.
Mm.
Um, I don't know really because okay, so we have Messi who's incredibly talented. We agree he's talented, but to then say he's focused on Messi, he gets one ball in it. But Argentina was poor in the whole game. They were nowhere. I don't even think they managed one shot on
They
target. Did
didn't,
you?
did they?
They
No.
didn't manage. So him saying, well, he must have done a good job. Um, are we saying that Messi could, or is he saying, from what we interpret from that Messi could single-handedly be a playmaker? Single-handedly. Is that what we're saying? Put Messi in any team and he'll, you know, manage to win. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, I think in his career that has been true to a large extent. One thing I've always noticed about Messi, whenever I've seen him play, and that goes back a few years for all of us, we've seen him on the TV and stuff.
Mm,
He, I always, I always felt he was a very lazy player, and by current day standards, most teams, and certainly in the Premier League and Football League, he is a lazy player. He doesn't track back like players these days are expected to. And maybe there's a lesson in there. We expect our forwards to get back for corners, as we do, for example, with Haaland. I mean, that
mm,
to be fair, that may be because of his height. And at a corner, it's very good to have someone like him back defending, as it is, say, someone like Dan Burn, who's a defender, going
Mm,
up for our corners because he's got the height over defenders, etc. But yeah, Messi has never been one. Even during the World Cup, you see him much of the time just sort of trotting around, almost on his own sometimes. But you might go out to the wing, but he's never particularly bothered about chasing anybody down. And maybe that there's a lesson there that his clubs over the years, Barcelona and Argentina, they know just how good he is when the ball's at his feet, what he can do, and therefore, if you start expecting him to be tracking back and man for man marking somebody or running back to defend, you're
mm.
going to lose quite a lot of his natural ability. And as I say, I do think there's a lesson there for Premier League managers and Football League managers generally to say, look, if you've got a prized possession, someone who can do it and will guarantee you 25 goals a season or 30, then don't overload them with these other expectations, because it's that if only tiredness will take their toll and they're not going to be the forceful striker that they could naturally be. And I mean, to
Well,
me, it picks up something I've long believed that, and you could say, what do I know? Although I've always followed football, but I think some of our players, particularly the strikers and midfielders, they're overcoached. They almost have their natural ability coached out of them. And I mean, you can think back to some players like Matt Letizia. He had a great volley, and I don't remember him really defending too much. His ability was as a midfielder. He had a great shot on him, and other sort of players like that. You got to manage individuals, and I sometimes think, you know, the philosophy of many managers is right. We all defend, we all attack, and that really takes a toll on players' tiredness, their fitness, and so on. If now, not many players, you say, yeah, most of the team can do that, but if you've got a Messi, a Ronaldo, a Haaland, someone who's got that goal scoring instinct or creative instinct, then let them do their own thing. I don't know what you think, but I always smile a bit when I see managers on the line, pointing everywhere, do this, because most of the time the team are not looking at them. And but of course they shout as well. And occasionally, if there's a lull in the play, the players will look and, oh, what do you want me to do, sort of thing. But these are
mhm.
highly paid professional footballers who train all the week. And if I were a manager, I'm not saying I'd never get cross about something that's happening, but I would rely on them to be doing the things they know they should do. They're highly paid, highly professional footballers who are the best at their trade in the country, with the Premier League. So I
Mm.
never quite get this business of a manager on the sideline, frankly, like Arteta, like Glasner, to a degree, Guardiola, constantly pointing and waving their fingers and whistling at the players. I suppose it's their way of managing, so I can't really criticise it. But yeah, I'd like to see managers giving individual players more personal attention. Maybe they do, but don't expect a great goal scorer to keep running back. Yeah, keep on side, but don't be tracking up and down all the time. Is that would be my style if I were a manager.
Yeah. So there's definitely something to learn from Messi's approach to football. I just wonder if it's always been his approach, or it's been an approach that he's adopted in his later on years in football, if you know what I mean. A younger Messi, say a 19-year-old Messi, or a 25-year-old Messi, is that always been his
Mm.
style? I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, that's a
Anyway.
good question, because I saw a thing on him 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Right.
and he joined Barcelona when he was six. Just think about that. He was 6 years old in
Mm.
Argentina, and he was offered a signing, and his dad came with him, and he signed for. And at first, I gather he was quite lonely, and his dad would say, "Look, do you want to go back to Argentina, go back home, see the family?" And he said, "No, I want to stick with it." And of course, we'll never know those early years how he was coached. He was obviously picked up very early as to being a very talented footballer. I mean, interestingly, his father was saying that they put him on a growth hormone when he was
Mm.
little because he
Oh,
he
wow.
was small, and of course
Mm.
he's not a tall man now, but he was put
Mm.
on this growth hormone because clearly something maybe hadn't fired properly. But so
Mm.
he didn't have an easy path necessarily through to the goat, the great footballer he is today. But I
Mm.
would imagine he developed that style, um, and in a way, when I watched him, I stopped being a bit annoyed about it, thinking, "Well, come on, you got to do your share, mate, of the work." I think, well, no, because to come back to the question you asked, he can change a game. And I'm sure over the years he's changed a good many games just by his influence. He gets the ball. He isn't just a great dribbler of the ball.
Mm.
He's got a good eye for the pass as well. He can cross a ball. It's got everything really. It's like the ball is tied to his boots with a string or something like that. He's got magic feet, and I
Mm.
think that's always been recognised that he is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, ever football player. But that
Mm.
doesn't mean to say he's had it easy. It doesn't mean to say he hasn't been tried at different positions or maybe they did want him to be running about all over the place. But I think he's that good that it probably showed early on that he was best left to his own devices. And there are the occasional players who should be left to their own devices.
Mm. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, Marcus Rashford is back at United. I think we mentioned it earlier. We didn't discuss it. Now, whose shirt is he going to take now? I know he plays from he's a winger, isn't he, Marcus Rashford?
He is,
And
yeah.
left left side. Now I can't remember who plays that left wing constantly for United. But anyway, now is he gonna be a fit for Manchester United under Carrick? What do you think?
I mean, is he finally back there? Because I know there have been rumours that he will join another club. I think we said that last week, didn't we?
Mm.
Obviously,
Yeah.
there's no room for him at Barcelona now.
Mm.
So yeah, he's back at United, is he? Is that a
It
fixture?
is. Well, that's what they said. That's what
That's what
I've
they
read.
said.
I've read it 2 days, 2 consecutive days in a row. So
Yeah.
he must be back at United for good. Um, I think
Well, I mean, I imagine that Carrick will want to play him again.
mm,
Again, he may feel Carrick may feel he's over a barrel really because he obviously doesn't want Rashford to become unhappy, which doesn't mean to say he's got to bow to his every wish, but he won't
mm,
want Rashford possibly sniping from the sidelines if he's not getting many start games. So in a way, and of course we know Rashford on his day is a very good player. So
mm.
Carrick may well decide to experiment with him in a given position. But I know they bought a couple of other players at least, haven't they, this
Yeah, yeah,
window?
yeah.
So I suppose it all depends what who he's got nominated for which position. It may be that he's got the room to put Rashford in there as well. But it'll be
Mm.
interesting to see.
It would be. It would be interesting to see. I mean, they've had a good preseason, and I think they're playing today. I think they're playing Leeds United, and it's on ITV1. I think 5 o'clock or something, or 7:30. I can't remember, but it's on free to view television today. Now, I'm just thinking. He doesn't want because you can have a bunch of good players and then you can have a disruptive influence thrown in, and that could just de de demoralize the the
Mm,
the momentum of the whole team. And I don't know. Maybe he's learned his lesson, so let's hope he has. If nothing comes
yeah.
up again, and because people do have the ability to change, especially when if they've been through something that that humbles them, a humbling experience.
I saw
But
a photo of him the other day.
yeah.
Uh, what do they say? Rash on the lash. He was on a boat with a hat on with loads of women all around him. So you're not going to say to him, "Where did it all go wrong, Rashford?" You really. But no, he's
Well,
doing all right. He's enjoying himself, and why
well,
wouldn't he?
yeah. Yeah, I'm starting to not so much dislike him now. I don't know why, but let's hope. Let's hope he proves us right, or wrong. Yeah. whichever the case. Now, the next one is Donald Trump is supporting FIFA President Gianni Infantino's controversial bid for re-election, warning that the organization could face serious financial consequences if his friend is not given another 4-year term. I
Yeah.
read that and I thought, what a load of rubbish. What a load
Mm,
of rubbish. I mean, the guy's just trying to get as much support as he can. I think that's what's
mm.
happening. But is he gone to the right place for support? Do you think?
No, I don't. I think actually, and I don't. Trump's all right as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
He's I say, for people, he's a bit like my. I think he's a force for more a force for good than a force for bad. But like
Mm,
everybody, I think some things he does are not the wisest things. But
mm,
with that in mind, or nothing to do with that, I think Infantino has not gone to the right place to get support because, first of all, you want someone. If you really need someone's support, it's got to be a football person, you'd imagine, who knows the game. And if Trump does just say, if that's what he said, oh, if you don't, you know, elect my man back, Infantino, there can be all
mm,
sorts of financial problems. I gather FIFA is sitting on billions of dollars of reserves,
mm,
billions. So I've read in recent times. So it's hard to believe that a change of president of FIFA would have any great negative impact. I mean, I would have thought, as I said before, I think someone like Arsene Wenger, who's very much in the group of people who could become the FIFA president, I
mm,
think he would make a first class president. I mean, he's one of those guys we all know from his days at Arsenal. He's clearly a man of integrity and decency. And I think that role, the FIFA presidency, absolutely needs that. After Blatter, and I'm not suggesting Infantino was dishonest, but he obviously was keen to do things with FIFA this recent, trying to sell the World Cup off, which may not
mm,
have been in the best interest of football or FIFA generally or world football, as was
mm,
effectively shown to be the case because he had to pull it out, and um, that may be a reason enough for him not to stand again because his judgment clearly was not very good. So I don't think getting the support of Donald Trump,
mm.
mainly because he's not a football man, and we've been told before they've been friends. I mean, you think when Spain won the cup, there was Trump standing by the players with the World Cup, and I thought, wow, that's quite an achievement to be on the pitch holding the actual trophy while the team are waiting for it. And he
Mm.
didn't want to leave the picture, did he, old Trumpy? He just wanted to be there for posterity. The thing that really annoyed him, which I thought was quite amusing, was that they removed him from, they photoshopped him out, didn't they? Which, I mean, I both felt sorry for Trump and I thought it was quite funny as well. So a bit of ambivalence there. But no, I don't think the support of Trump in that particular situation is particularly helpful. In another situation, unrelated to football, it may be the best support you can
Mm,
get. But
mm,
no, I don't. I think FIFA are due a change. He's been there for a few years now, Infantino. He's made a big
mm,
mistake. People do, but I think it's a good time now to put someone else in there, a fresh pair of hands. You know, like they do refits on aeroplanes and cruise ships and everything else once every few
mm,
years because everything needs a bit of a boost.
mm.
And I think they need a new president.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so you wouldn't give him a second chance then, would you? FIFA's president.
No, no, I
Yeah.
don't know when he was last re-elected, but I think he was
Mm,
re-elected at some stage.
mm,
No, I mean he's kept it going. I think there's been no great corruption uh, suggestions. I mean, I think there were talk about they seem to favour Argentina in the World Cup, but in
mm,
practical terms, that was probably just something. It probably didn't have any actual basis to that. It was just a
mm,
wish, maybe, that they wanted to see Argentina and Messi through to the final to maintain the interest of the public, which is
mm,
not unreasonable in that
mm,
sense. But I just think he's been there long enough, and with this kind of little black mark against him, this business he did entirely of his own account, by the sound of it. Even his own colleagues there were against it and threatened to resign.
Mm,
So it looked like something he was doing on his own. So I
mm,
think for that bad judgment alone, he should give somebody else a chance now, and it'll be
yeah,
interesting to see whether he does get voted in again. Because
yeah.
if he does, there's a lot of very forgiving people there who otherwise would have voted him out because of this other nonsense.
Mm. Let's just look at this scenario. How would the World Cup be without UEFA? I believe a part of CONCACAF is joined forces with UEFA. CONCACAF, yeah. And there's the Asian body as well. Now, we're going to come to the Asian body in a minute, but how would football look? A World Cup, say the female World Cup, for instance, which is coming up soon. How would it look without any UEFA teams?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're still saying that. I mean, I think the English FA have said
Mm,
until this is properly reversed, this business that Infantino has done, then we're not going to participate in any competitions. Now, I'm assuming that remains the case because I read that about a week ago that the clubs, UEFA and the clubs are still not happy that Infantino withdrew or pulled back on everything he was proposing. I don't
mm,
know in which details. To be honest, when I looked at it, the details that were quoted, I thought maybe our clubs were being a little bit churlish, a little bit pernickety, if you like, because it was basic. The rug was pulled. So maybe there's bits and stuff that's not come out in the public, but I think it will move forward
mm,
satisfactorily, and that our clubs won't boycott anything.
mm,
I hope they don't anyway. But no, as I say, I think much might depend on whether he gets re-elected,
mm.
Infantino. As I say, a
Yeah.
fresh break will do FIFA a power of good, I think.
Hopefully it doesn't have to come to that because I wouldn't be watching the World Cup if England's not playing, especially the female World Cup. Let's start with that because that's the one that is likely
Yeah.
to be immediately affected by the whole thing. Now, just on the backdrop of that, I just thought about the Asian because we have the Euros, don't we? Well, yeah. I don't remember the Asian version of it. Do you?
Um, I don't think I do. No,
No, I
an
don't.
Asian
I don't.
version of the Euros.
Of the Euros, yeah. I know the South Americans have theirs called, American Cup or something, Americas or something. Just like we call it the Euros. They have theirs
Yeah,
where, you have countries in the South America play, like Brazil and Argentina, Colombia and all that, and they come together and play. But I'm not quite sure I remember the one for
would it
Asia.
come into the? It wouldn't come into the African nations one, would it? In
Right.
January, it
Yeah,
could
so
be
the
within
African
that.
Nations Cup, that is
It's in
that
January,
is
isn't
for countries in Africa.
it?
So you
Africa.
would have countries like Nigeria, Ghana,
Yeah,
Egypt, Algeria, and all that. I think the Asia would have their own,
yeah.
confederation as well. But I don't remember that. I would love to learn more about that actually, because up until this FIFA thing, I didn't know I didn't know they had one. I'm sorry
No,
about that.
no,
Apologies.
I
It's
don't.
yeah,
No.
yeah. Apologies to all our viewers. I just didn't know, but I'll be glad to learn more about that. We learn every day, don't we, bro?
But it would take in countries like Pakistan and India.
Yes.
Um, you could even say Russia or China could be involved in that.
I think Russia
Japan,
is
perhaps.
in Europe, I think. Russia used to
Is that
play
yeah
with
the Europe
yeah,
side of it,
yeah,
isn't it?
so yeah. So Russia
But
used to be in
yeah,
the
but
Europe side. So yeah. Well, I would, this is my homework. I would have to look
yeah,
into
for
that.
next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the next one is. Um, this one is a bit of a surprise to me, actually. So it says Turkish journalist Kan Terzi has been detained by police for claiming that Jamal Musiala was going to sign for Galatasaray. Galatasaray. Local
Well, that's
police consider the claim to be dissemination of misleading information to the public, and they took him into custody. And this is according to the Sunspot. Is that i- is that real? Could it
mm.
happen? I don't know.
And that's in Turkey, you say?
Yeah, yeah, it's in Turkey and it's reported by the Sunspot. That's so it must be a true story, but I'm just thinking about what could he have said. I mean,
Yeah.
he didn't say anything malicious, did he? It wasn't like I mean, of course he could claim to be something like a rumor, which we get
Mm.
in the British press all the time, don't we? You get a rumor that this player is linked with a club and it doesn't materialize.
Mm.
Or they all flops and so that was a strange one. And I thought
And
about the mistake. Yeah.
it comes down to what the old fake news, doesn't it? I mean, is
Mm.
faking news a crime? Maybe in some countries it would
Oh
be,
my.
but fake news is just generally regarded. I mean, as you say, you can read the amount of stuff that comes up on Facebook or on X about Palace players who are coming to Crystal Palace, and I'm
Mm.
sure all the other clubs find the same thing. I mean, if they were all true, I think Crystal Palace would have a playing staff of about 320 because
Mm.
there's so many rumours. And more than rumours, I mean, they say, "Oh, yeah, this person's about to sign," and you get a picture, and you think you used to think, "Oh, that sounds good. He's quite good," and then nothing comes of it, or someone else is saying, "No, it's just deliberate fake news." I don't know what they get out of it, whether they just get views. I suppose people who put it up
Yeah,
on
probably.
Facebook or whatever, they get
Probably.
the views, and maybe that's monetized. I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought. Obviously, going out of your way as a journalist to
Mm.
deliberately say something has happened in your sporting sphere that
Mm.
you know hasn't.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, is that illegal or is it just very unprofessional journalism? I don't
Yeah.
know. There's a lot
Yeah.
of overlaps there, so perhaps there's more to it than we actually
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, now the last one we're going to talk about is Andoni Iraola, Liverpool's new manager. And this is what he said. He said the problem is right now, probably they don't have the energy for 90 minutes and they start to get tired. So he's talking about his players. Now, why would a manager be saying that on obviously the first few
Yeah,
uh, games on his career, really, not career, but management job, managerial job in Liverpool. It just now, okay, so there's a manager saying, my players might be tired, it might be fitness. Um, is it something that you're supposed to say out? Would you say that as a manager? Would you not
I
deal
mean,
with
to
it
be
in
honest,
house?
I prefer to have some context. I mean, we don't know. Was
Right.
this a press conference? Was he
Yeah.
responding to questions? Was it to do with maybe many of them, like many of the Premier League clubs, have had a lot of people away at the World Cup and they've been given their
Uh,
4 weeks break after that. So
yeah.
a lot of teams, I think there may be a bit of an unpredictable start to the season for quite a lot of clubs in the Premier League for that reason. Players have come back late. They've not had a full pre-season. We saw what he did last season, as we said earlier, to Isak. He got a very bad injury, thought
Mm,
by many to be related to his lack of pre-season training. So
mm,
there may be a lot of strange results in the first few weeks. Now, if Iriola was referring to that, either in response to a question or a discussion or something, you could
mm,
say he could be saying, yeah, they won't be up for their 90 minutes. 100% fitness in the first
Mm,
2 or 3 games. I mean, that would make kind of sense for any manager to say that of his team.
mm,
But if it, in the absence of that being the reason, I wouldn't like to think why he would say that
mm.
without knowing some of the background comments. What I did notice the other day, because I watched the Carabao Cup game last week between West Ham and Portsmouth, which was actually quite a good game. I don't know whether you saw it. Very good game,
No, no.
which West Ham won 3-1. And I don't think it happened then, or maybe it did. Maybe it did. But they're still doing the good old hydration break, you
Mm,
know, quarter, halfway through the first half, halfway. No, I mean, I think it's only going to happen if the temperature goes above a certain number of degrees.
mm,
But I can't say I'm disappointed. Yeah, if it's like at present, I mean, mid 30s. I think tomorrow is predicted to be even higher down
mm.
here in the south, towards the south coast, 36 degrees. It's fine indoors because of, as you say, aircon, efficient fans, and so on. But when you go
Mm.
out, it hits you like a brick wall, which I actually
Does,
quite like. I've got to say, you get in your car and it's air conditioned, and I do. I really love this weather because we'll all too soon be back to the earlier dark nights and the dismal clouds. Interestingly, of course, tonight is the eclipse, isn't it? So it's worth
Yeah.
keeping an eye out for that because it'll still be light. I think down this way it's going to maximize just before 7 p.m. So anyway, I mentioned that in passing. But yeah, I don't know what Iriola meant. I don't think he's making excuses before the season starts. I think he was
Mm.
probably answering some questions, and it's to do with pre-season. But if it isn't that, then maybe there's stuff we don't really know about. We certainly want the
Yeah,
context of it.
yeah, we do, don't we? Right, and we don't want to end up like the Turkish journalists.
No, that's true. No, it was him, Gov. It was him. He's the boss.
Anyway, this is all we've got time for. Do you want to do the conclusion for us, bro, please?
Yeah,
Mm.
that's the end of our second segment of the football referee. We didn't put in to my knowledge our deliberate mistake, but if we find we did make one, then it deliberately put in there so that we can ask you to tell us what it was. But anyway, I'm Trevor Gear, and he calls me bruv.
And I'm Kins, and he calls me Cuz, and it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. See you next week.
See you next week.
Well
Oh,
done.
yeah. Yeah, just for 5 minutes. Let me just turn off all.
Yeah.